All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to dive into one of the biggest thinking problems we all have, a fundamental error in the way our brains work. And this isn't some minor quirk. It's the kind of error that can lead doctors to misdiagnose their patients and can cause entire societies to lose literally trillions of dollars.
I want you to imagine something for a second. Let's say you're a student and you've been mysteriously sick for years. You finally see a new doctor, and one of the very first things they ask you is that. Do you enjoy throwing up?
Well, this isn't a hypothetical. This actually happened to a student named Bisma. For years, she was so sick she couldn't keep food down. She was dangerously thin, and she'd been bounced from doctor to doctor, but no one could figure out what was wrong.
But this new doctor? Oh, he had a theory. He decided it must be anorexia. And every single question he asked wasn't designed to find the truth. It was designed to prove his theory right. So when Bisma, obviously, said no to these strange questions, what do you think happened? You'd think the doctor might reconsider, right? Nope. He saw her answers as hysterical denial, which in his mind was just more proof that he was right all along. Of course, he turned out to be completely and utterly wrong.
So what was going on there? The doctor had fallen headfirst into a classic mental trap. It's a thinking problem that affects every single one of us, usually without us even having a clue that it's happening. It's called confirmation bias. And put simply, it means our brains are basically hardwired to look for evidence that proves we're right. And at the same time, we're fantastic at ignoring, twisting, or just explaining away any evidence that suggests we might be wrong.
Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't do that. Okay, let's see. We're going to try a famous little experiment right now, and you can see if you can avoid the exact trap that catches almost everyone.
All right, here we go. I'm thinking of a very simple rule that governs a sequence of 3 numbers. And to start you off, I'll give you a sequence that follows my rule. 2, 4, 6. Your job is to figure out the rule. You can test your ideas by proposing other 3-number sequences, and I'll tell you yes or no if they fit my rule.
Now, if you're like pretty much everyone else on the planet, a hypothesis probably popped into your head almost immediately. Something like the rule is even numbers, going up by 2. Seems obvious, doesn't it? So, to test this, people naturally suggest other sequences that fit their idea. You might test 4, 6, 8. I'd say yes, that fits the rule. Feeling good, you might broaden your theory a little to any numbers increasing by 2, and test 13, 15, 17. And I'd say, yep, that fits too. Your confidence is probably sky high at this point.
And here's the twist. Even after getting all those yes answers, the rule you've settled on is still wrong. How is that even possible?
The mistake wasn't in your guesses. It was in your strategy. See, you only tested sequences that would prove you right. You never tried to prove yourself wrong. What if you had tested a sequence that violates your hypothesis, just to see what would happen? Something like 4, 12, 13. Well, guess what? That one also follows the rule.
The real rule was just any sequence of increasing numbers. That's it. It's much simpler and broader than most people think. In the original experiment back in the 1960s, only about 20% of people figured this out without getting it wrong first. Our brains are just natural-born confirmation seekers.
But look, this isn't just about fun logic puzzles. This exact same cognitive shortcut has massive, and I mean massive, real-world consequences that have shaped our entire society.
Just think about this. For centuries, society had a working hypothesis. Men are better at science. And because men were overwhelmingly given the opportunities, the education, the funding, the lab space, society kept collecting evidence that seemed to confirm it. But it almost never ran the other experiment. It rarely gave women the chance to provide the disconfirming evidence that would have shown the hypothesis was wrong.
And you can actually put a price tag on these sorts of societal biases. A 2020 report from Citibank tried to quantify the economic loss just from racial inequality in the U.S. over the last 20 years alone. And the number they landed on is right there, $16 trillion.
So where's a number that huge come from? It's all the accumulated lost potential. It's the wages that were never earned because of educational gaps. It's the housing wealth that was never built because of loan discrimination. It's the business revenue that was never generated because of unequal access to capital. It's all the damage that comes from a system that continually seeks to confirm a flawed and harmful hypothesis.
So, how on earth do we fight a bias that seems to be baked into our very thinking? Well, the solution researchers found is surprisingly clever. You don't fight it head on. You actually use the bias against itself. So researchers created a new version of that number puzzle. This time they told people there were two separate, mutually exclusive rules to figure out, one for numbers called DAX and one for numbers called MED. With that one little tweak, the success rate shot up from around 20% to an incredible 85%.
So why the huge jump? It's kind of genius. While people were busy trying to find evidence to confirm their theory for what MED numbers were, they would accidentally stumble upon evidence that disconfirmed their theory for DAX. They essentially tricked their brains by redirecting that powerful urge to be right.
So here is the big takeaway, the thing you can actually use. The next time you face a big decision, don't just go with your gut. First, identify your initial hypothesis. This new marketing plan is going to be a huge success. Then, create a compelling alternative hypothesis. No, this plan is going to fail, and this other one is the one that will actually work. And then, the critical part. You have to actively search for evidence that could prove both of them right.
It's a total shift in thinking. Instead of just asking, why am I right, you have to force yourself to make the best possible case for the other side. By seeking to confirm an alternative view, you might just find the fatal flaw in your own. And in that process, you might just get a whole lot closer to the truth.